Thank you to Joe, who's in Hackney, who says, I voted for Sadiq Khan. I'm a Corbyn girl through and through. But for anybody to suggest that the mayor should not be present, frankly, has no place in this debate. They are the mayor for a reason. Of course we should hear from the mayor of London. What is the point in them being there if we don't? She also then goes on to say some choice things about the previous incumbent, which are not broadcastable, but I would probably concur with. Joe, thank you for that. Well, indeed, I mean, the idea that we shouldn't be bothered about, well, he's just the mayor. He's the mayor, for goodness sake. She's the Home Secretary. I've heard very little from the Prime Minister on this. This happens to be, inconveniently for Mr Khan, on his watch. Thomas in Worthing, what are your thoughts, Tom? Good evening.
Good evening. I think it's a tragedy. I really do. And the thing that surprises me about this is if you have 50 people die in a plane crash or a building fire, it's a tragedy. It's a disaster. 50 young people have died over the period of, 5 months this year so far. And it's, it's just been kind of, waved off like it's not that important by the people who really matter. Now, the thing I think is incredible about this, actually, is the day after the Grenfell fire disaster, Sadiq Khan, key MPs were at the disaster site, the immediate day after. And, I mean, like you said, he wasn't even bothered about tweeting about this after the latest murder took place yesterday. Yeah. Now, I don't come up to London very often. I'm not from London. I come from a fairly sleepy town on the south coast. I came up to London on Tuesday last week. A couple of days before I came to London, a young man was stabbed to death in the shopping centre in Stratford. I was doing a shopping trip, so I only went to 3 places. So, young man stabbed to death in Stratford. There's a memorial outside. Really young guy. I went to Hackney, and I went to Walthamstow, and I also had to go through Tottenham to get to Walthamstow. And in the immediate week after this, actually the same day in Tottenham and Walthamstow, a young guy and a young girl were murdered. And then obviously we've had this happen yesterday in Hackney. Sure. I mean, it is such an incredibly short period of time.
Seven people have lost their life within 7 days. I mean, that's an extraordinary statistic. We've had, multiple deaths in one night. A drive-by shooting, even using the phrase drive-by shooting. I don't blame Sadiq Khan for that. I blame people who pull out knives and guns. Of course, they are to blame, and whatever grimy background these people lurked from. All of those are the important areas to focus on. However, we have to deal with the aftermath of this, and I want to see my politicians, I want to see my police to be perfectly in control of what is happening. That's the only thing we can kind of hope from these people.
And I can't help but wonder whether we've got a similar issue going on here as we had in places like Rotherham, that, political correctness is stopping people from coming out and actually saying, things like gangland culture does play a role in this. I mean, I'm looking
it's a huge thing. Everything from YouTube to absent fathers, you name it, it's there.
I'm looking at the article about the murder that took place yesterday in Hackney, Israel Ugunsola, I think his name is.
Yeah, Ugunsola.
The BBC had to crop his picture because the only picture they could get hold of him, and he's actually doing a gangland gun sign. You listen to music, rap music, that kind of thing these days, and it glorifies violence. You look at movies that people in inner cities like to watch, and it is concentrated violence.
One of the other problems that we've now got is that, and thank you, Thomas, for making that point. I share the sort of desperation that you clearly felt when you came to the capital city. I certainly feel that right now. But one of the issues with these young kids is they don't know they're in something, because that is their only reality. Their only reality is that kind of culture, whether it's gang-based. They've got into the whole YouTube thing. They're all their own, they all think they're the next Stormzy, etc. But we've kind of added something that gives them a sort of a slightly more sinister vibe to whatever it is they're trying to produce. And they believe it. They have their own likes. They have their own posses, their own fans, some of these kids. I mean, they're playing out a sort of fantasy life. And they're unable to see the other side. That is the reality.